Ever wish you had someone to tell you the truth about what it takes to run a successful business and live a fulfilling life? Well, amiguita, you've come to the right place. So grab your favorite cafecito or cocktail, your courage, and let's get to work. I'm Janessa, a therapist, business strategist, mindset coach for entrepreneurs, and a feisty Latina from Miami. And I'm determined to teach you the exact tools you need to stop settling and start kicking some serious derriere. What do you say? Are you in? Then let's get started. Welcome to Latinas Empowering Latinas podcast.
Gaby has no idea what I'm talking about today. Yeah, look at that. I'm strapped in. You're strapped in. No, but this is going to be, I think, a really cool conversation. First, for the Latina first gen piece, and the money mindset piece, money psychology, and you'll see. I went home. I'm from Miami, Cuban immigrant family, giving you guys some context. And in Cuba, for those of you that don't know, is essentially when the Castro regime took over, they took everything away. So if you owned property, if you had money in bank, anything, they said it's no longer yours. It is officially ours, and you own nothing. All the money they had saved in banks, right? They think banks are safe. They said, nope, that money now belongs to Cuba, to the government. And here's some, they printed their own money. Here's some Cuban money. Here's some monopoly money you can use, right? Still exists to this day. Any American money is called pula over there. Anyway, this is the background. Because of that, I grew up in a place where my grandparents would work. My grandfather would cash his check, bring home all the cash, keep it there, hide it somewhere. I always used to joke to them, leave me your mattress, because I was the door when they would go get cash out, right? I have no idea. And then once a week, my aunt would sit down and do all their bills with their checkbook, balance it, and then she would total it up. I'll never forget. And she would say, "Papi, tengo que depositar $1,000." He goes, "Okay, I'll come back." He would go in his room, close the door, find the money he needed, give her the cash, and then she would go and deposit the cash. So when it was clear, there was money in there. So they don't trust banks. Most Cubans, again, I grew up with a safety deposit box. I'm surprised that even existed because, again, everything was taken. We have a safety deposit box, right? Of course, we came over and, they had nothing and they had to start from scratch, whether you had an education or not, kind of didn't matter. Right. And so far as I know, and I don't want to see, I'm super grateful for everything my grandparents and my parents and my family did. It's not a question of that at all. I remember from what I know now, looking back, that it was a paycheck to paycheck situation. Right. And we had to rely on credit cards. And eventually, things got better. Credit cards were paid off. My parents now have paid off their home and they have property in the Keys and they have property in Naples and they're paid completely. That's amazing. I know they paid their electric and their water. But a dream. So I go to Miami about a month ago. We had an event and I'm sitting in the Florida room, we call it, with my dad. And he starts talking about the stock market. Remember, I because of the way that I viewed things or heard things, the stock market was literally you're burning your money. You don't work hard. And the scary gambling, don't do it. He's there and he's sitting and he's talking about his stocks and how it's making money and how he has things invested. It was actually, I think I was mentioning that I had talked to you about investing in some stocks and how I wanted to invest in things. I always spend money on Starbucks, Disney, things. At least I feel paying myself. Exactly. Yeah. Then I'm having this conversation, I'm looking at him, and he's really motivado and happy and he's proud. And he has stocks here and I have stocks there and our stocks made this. And I was like, Dad, this sounds really awesome. I grew up, I remember being scared of stocks to this day. I'm scared of stocks. We just started having this conversation together because to me, that's being dumb. You're throwing away money. You're burning. Exactly. Literally again. You're letting them take it away from you, basically. You might as well drink and go on a bender in Vegas. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at it here amazed because hold on. I've been thinking about stocks and I've always wondered about them. He said, and how can you just, I'm happy for you, but my belief system comes from you and Can you catch me up here? How did we get here? Take me on this journey with you. Yeah. How did we bridge this? Because I go there and now I'm kind of hesitant, but the person who taught me to be fearful of it is now embracing it and I love that. Right. Exactly. Money psychology piece I want to talk about with you. Yeah. Long story short, my parents were gifted stock. Okay. They weren't gifted money. They were gifted stock ownership. Yeah. And then they let that grow and then they reinvested whatever winnings they had in there. Sure. Into their dividends. That's awesome. Okay. My question was, And I said, I was trying to do it delicately. I'm not judging and I don't want you to get defensive. I said,
Yeah.
would you have ever invested in stock on your own?
Right.
He's, well, yeah, I have. No.
No, that like the first step.
Gifted you, because I think even if somebody gifted him the money to say, here, do it in the stocks, I don't think
It would have been, I have this to do.
yes, I think out of respect, right? If somebody did that, I think he would have followed through, but I think part of him would have been like, I really need to get this. This is a
Sure. Yeah.
because again, the belief system. And he goes, well, no, I guess not. If that person would have gifted me that, I would have never started.
I love the like honesty, like the self-reflection, like being, no, you're right. This is probably it.
And I'm always like a huge believer, like even with my kids, we don't know everything. We're parents, we're figuring it out.
Right.
Like I apologize to my kids. I'm huge on that, thing that I never like experienced growing up.
Yeah.
And I've lived 43 years
Mm-hmm.
of investing in something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful for this growth and opportunity for them because they're doing really well. And apparently it's awesome.
Apparently it's going really well. Yeah.
And I wanted to talk today about the impact of our intergenerational trauma. I figured this was good for
Right.
both of us.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
how much mirroring from the people in our circle, right? Whoever they are, parents,
Right.
grandparents, older siblings, how we're affected, influenced by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The beauty and the challenge in changing mindset. If I ever went to him and said, hey, I want to invest in stock, then I can never imagine him being like, yeah, okay, great for you.
Do it. That makes sense. It's going to grow. No,
Just not permission. Almost this second of, is
this okay?
right?
Well, and
I guess it is kind of permission, right?
and it's
Approval for this part, not for other things in life, but for this money investment. It's a risk. You kind of know.
And I feel like you're also touching around another contextual issue for us culturally. We are so family oriented and we're so respectful of our elders. And we're also touching on this kind of a dynamic that we have with our parents where it's not directly permission. Hey, can I do this? But we do look for them for approval oftentimes, right? Exactly. And if you had approached your dad and been like, hey, I want to invest in this, and this was before his total mindset switch, he probably would have been, that's stupid, don't do that. That's, you know what I mean? All of the scripts that you normally had. Would that have discouraged you? Probably. Would that have stopped you? Maybe, right? And it's so important that we kind of take a step back and acknowledge the context that we're in. What dynamics, what habits are we playing out? And at the end of the day, do they serve us, right? And I think it's so interesting, the psychology and the intertwining of finances, because if you really think about it, personal finance is just based on habit, and habit is just behavior, right? I mean, you know so much more about behavior and what creates this and what are our triggers and all of this stuff, right? But there's also that quote, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? And we see kind of these groups. And when I'm approaching coaching, when I'm talking, digging in, okay, you defined an issue with overspending. Talk to me about what your circle is. What do your friends do? What does your family to do? What do you see oftentimes? Okay, we're kind of impulsive and not judging again. We're just looking at it from a factual lens, not from a judgment lens. Everybody's kind of impulsive. They really like to eat out, or they'll be, oh, you know what? I'm free next week. Let's go to Tulum all of a sudden. Okay. This is, again, we're going to mirror those habits that we all have within each other because we're kind of all collectively giving each other permission to be in this way. But either we will surround ourselves and be people that are encouraging kind of positive habits, right? Or we're encouraging habits that maybe feel good in the moment, but not necessarily in the long run. Yeah. It's super interesting to talk about.
Oh my gosh, crazy. And again, without judgment, I understand maybe on my training in school, right?
Right.
I completely understand. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, there is no way that you would gamble your money.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly.
Saving for an emergency, you just don't have it.
Yeah.
You're relying on credit cards to make up some of the bills in your
right.
home, right? I understand where everything comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just recently heard, have you ever heard of Cody Sanchez?
Of course, yes.
Oh,
love Cody Sanchez.
Just found out about her a month ago. Oh my
yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
I just saw something she posted, and it was, we are affected. Listen to this. Our socioeconomic future success isn't measured by the socioeconomic of how we were raised, but who we spend our time with in the future. So it's who we're rubbing shoulders with, access to opportunity, and whether or
Mhm.
not they have and money.
Exactly.
But it's not just, it's good, right? You're not predestined.
We're not stagnant necessarily, right?
Yeah. But I also think of my kids too.
Mhm.
Who am I surrounding them with? My kids go to a very affluent private
Yeah.
school, and the cars and the pickup line Rolls Royce. I couldn't afford a Rolls Royce for my wedding to rent. Like,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
are humble and grounded, but we are making sure that their school's in a safe area, that we live in a safe area, that the kids are
Mhm.
going to school with them. Not perfect, but they definitely, it's that same thing that she's setting up. Just who are you surrounded yourself with, and who are we choosing to surround ourselves with? And
Exactly.
for me, it's not just about money. Like, well, you know me, I'm all about referrals. And you said once
Right.
to me, I'll forget, if you're so big on relationships, then I am.
Yeah.
You also want to be with people that want the same type of life you want. I'm not even talking about money. I'm talking about like aspiration.
No, absolutely. Mhm.
Like, one day I want to be a millionaire. One day I want to like give back to my, like, that you have the same concept of giving back in a different way or living a certain lifestyle. Like, I prefer
Absolutely.
experience versus like flashy stuff. Like,
Yeah,
for-
exactly.
again, but you can't, right? You have to kind of be on the same page.
Because it helps. I mean, I'm sure you've also heard that quote about, find, if you really want to achieve success, you have this goal that you really want to go for, then find a room where that goal is other people's reality, right? Because it's exactly, you learn from them, you're understanding their habits, what do they do to get there. I feel most of the time whenever I've surrounded myself with people who are, have achieved a higher level of success with me, either with business or with finance or with, just life and balance and mental health too, they're very open about, this is how I did it. If you really want to learn, most of us really, really value giving back, either in the day-to-day little chunks, person to person, or also with kind of bigger things, either with donations or even, with making sure that our business ventures or our impact is aligned to empowering our community, right? And I love that you're big on relationships, because I think that's been also a big growing learning opportunity for me, is that, we hear all the time, your network is your net worth, right? Or something like that. I never necessarily directly understood it as the power of relationships that you can have. Like, when you're truly aligned, it's much easier to achieve greater impact because you're working in synchronicity. Yeah, exactly. And it's genuine. It's not a tit for tat. It's not transactional or anything like that. No, lo estamos haciendo todo juntos, en comunidad todo es posible. Everything, we can do this all together, kind of a thing. And it's mutually beneficial because it's 100% aligned, essentially.
Question for you, based on the story that I shared with you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Give me the story, of course.
What tips would you give somebody in a similar position, or maybe in how do you speak to them to kind of navigate the inner conflict of I'm interested in, and we'll talk specifically about stocks, right?
Right.
Interested in this world, but I was told it's not good and I'm scared. What would you tell if you were coaching somebody?
And this has happened, by the way. A lot of my clients are also first gen, Latinx background, and there is some of that. And the script specifically of investing is gambling, I see where it comes from. And then I give the example of, okay, you're right. If I'm going to log into my Charles Schwab, which is where I have my Roth IRA, and I'm scrolling and these letters put together, BX, or whatever, I'm just making this up. That sounds good. You're right. That's gambling. I have no idea what that company is. I have no idea nothing about it. I just kind of picked one randomly. That is gambling. But investing is actually a research proven strategic plan that we have, right? And if we look across data, the stock market has consistently yielded 10% every year for the last 50 years. Now, granted, that doesn't mean it's always just, boop, it's not a direct positive slope, right? It's a graph. Think about when you were in high school and it was, first it went up, then it came down a little bit, then it went up, then it came down a lot, then it went up. But the whole point is that the trajectory overall is positive. And then we talk about, okay, how old are we? How much of a time horizon? Are you trying to make a quick buck? Because you're right. I don't think we should do that. That doesn't make sense, right? But
it's a long game.
Exactly. It's the long game.
Please disclose that history wasn't my absolute favorite. Don't dive into a lot of topics. Again, correlation of how I grew up and what I learned and what I was exposed to. And then the stock market.
Yeah.
And suicide and widows. And How do you, again, change that trauma? Because I tell people too, you don't have to be around or born at the time where trauma occurs. It's
Right.
the exposure of it, the hearing about it is as impactful. When I think of stock market crash, people died, committed suicide, things are bad. Women were left alone and widowed, raising family of 6 with nothing. How do you change that? An American experience, right? Because I'm bridging both.
And then we talk about, okay, let's root it in education. Let's root it in some facts. Yes, you're right. Those things happen, but they're a little bit anecdotal, right? Let's look at the whole picture. Let's zoom out. I'm not diminishing that experience because it's very real, but let's zoom out again. Let's point to where those stock market crashes happen. And now let's put it into your context, right? You specifically, let's say we started getting you to invest $100 a month. Okay. Those $100 a month, do you need them right now? Obviously, we're not having this conversation if we're at the intense paycheck to paycheck, barely surviving, right? We're at the wealth accumulation.
We're like curious,
Exactly.
not living paycheck.
In theory, no, those $100 we can let go of. And okay, worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, the $100 that you invested every month, they lost value for 2 years. What would happen? What would happen, right? What would directly happen to you? Well, I would get kind of stressed out. I would get anxious. I would feel it was a bad idea. And I was okay.
Again, realistically, we're talking about $100. I'd be like, yeah, thing, but it's not a fact.
Exactly.
With your entire livelihood.
And that's also what happened when we saw in 2008, right? My parents are in real estate. I saw directly the huge impact of that housing bubble burst, you know?
Early, we bought our house and the next day it crashed. Yeah, and we had to write a check to the state of New Jersey when we moved because we were under.
Yeah, no, it happened much foreclosures after foreclosures.
It was kind of the closest in our generation to
yeah. And I think what happens is, I want to acknowledge that I'm not necessarily a real estate expert, right? But I think what happens is we'll start to kind of just jump on a bandwagon of, oh, this makes sense. Let me just do it. No big deal, whatever, right? And we're not doing our own individual due diligence of, let me map this out. How does this happen? Nobody is suggesting that you take 100% of your income and you invest it, right? You need money to live, right? But now if we've got a long time horizon, and this is where that piece, again, we've zoomed out, we understand that for 2 years, we kind of lost value. And now we keep going, we move forward. Now imagine if you had invested in, tech companies during the dot-com era, right? The dot-com bubble in 99, when that burst and people lost a lot of money. But if you kept investing in that, what do you think your Google and your Apple and your Amazon are worth now, right? And there's this kind of flip of it. And again, I don't want to diminish people's experiences who have gone through significant impact during those times, but there's kind of this little flip that we use in the finance world where it's when there's a little bit of a recession or where there's a dip, your stocks are on sale. Keep buying. Just don't stop. And that's the whole thing. You go back to success in general, right? Have you heard any of those quotes where it's like, the secret to success is just don't stop showing up. Don't quit, because you just kind of have to out-stubborn your failure, right? Or your pivots, right?
It equals long-term gain.
Exactly.
If somebody's looking to invest in the stock market, even if it's a one-time $100, right? What would you say? Okay, plan to not touch that again for the next 10 years.
Yeah, at least the next 10 years. But I would say if we are really going to do this and we're going to build this habit, we are going to build wealth, we're going to build, our portfolio, we want to make sure that you can actually retire. And a lot of my clients, I will say, I'm not sure that I'm going to retire here though. I might, go back to XYZ, whatever country. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. But what we do know for sure is that you'd like to retire, right? 100% you want to retire, and sure, you might end up moving to Ecuador, or to Ghana, whatever, right? But the whole thing is, why wouldn't we today, right now, you want to make sure that future you has the option to move locations, has the option to stop working, right? So that's really what it's about. If you're 30, think about it as the next 30 years. If you're 40, think about it as the next 20 years. If you're 50, think about it as the next 10 years. What does that look at yourself up for success long term, as long as you can? I know that sounds silly cop out, but the power of compound interest really happens with a long time horizon. You can invest only $100, $50 a month, something tiny. But if you start when you're 20, just imagine the 4 decades you're allowing for your wealth to build on itself. That's the beauty of investing. That's the beauty of the stock market, right? And I feel lately there's been this huge thing, and I'm on TikTok for it. Yeah, but the economy is going to crap, and like eventually the entire stock market is going to be nothing, and all of these like kind of apocalyptic like doomsday vibes, right? Okay, let's for a moment pretend I'm on the same page here. The entire US economy and the entire country just is done. We are not going to be worried about retirement because we are so going to be worried about right now, right? And I'm not going to change my life and change my finance plan and the way that I am planning for longer term things based on something that could happen. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Gaby, thank you so much for joining us again. How can people find you and work with you?
I would love to work with you. You can go to Gaby Rincon on Instagram and on TikTok. I'm at Gaby Talks Money. I'm also on YouTube, and I offer one-on-one coaching, right? If you're looking for a consult, kind of a couple questions, you're pretty good at finance, you just have maybe some debt consolidation questions, that would be a good option. But really, if you're looking for some long-term change, let's get this done together. Realistically, a 6 to 12 month kind of working with me monthly is really, really impactful. That's really good for you if you're looking to pay off credit card debt, for example, if you're looking to really change your habits in terms of savings and investing, right? We're kind of looking for a more balanced finance plan. That's really what it's about. And I'm so excited that I actually launched my first course. It is totally a labor of love. It's called Creciendo con Dinero, a money mastery for the next generation. And it is a 3-part series, bootcampy style. Come in Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 1 hour. And we're basically going to take you from like money anxious, money avoidant, I have no idea how to money to I got this, I can 100% do it. And I'm really excited about those two things. It's just so aligned to our community, I think. And yeah, it's been great. And what's kind of fun is that Janessa has been a really good part of that. So, really
super excited for people to really get to know you. And I know you're really huge when we first met about giving back to our community.
Mhm.
Everybody you're thinking, can't afford a money manager, a strategist.
Yeah.
And I had to like convince Gaby to raise her rate.
Oh my God.
Super affordable. Go on her website information and take advantage of that while she's still super
While I'm still affordable. Yeah.
because she truly is trying to give back to her community.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited you tuned in. The best way to find out the second a new episode is released and receive all the valuable tools and actionable steps I share is to subscribe to the podcast, so make sure you do that. Sending you so much love until next time. Bye.